to talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy... Flyover State of Fear. Welcome back. I got a very special Flyover State of Fear for you. We finally have the last Flyboy on the show after 30-something episodes. I got my man, TJ Dexter. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? It feels so good to be here finally. I've drug you along for months and rescheduled you so many times.
For the people that don't know, I think the movie has changed a few times, and then we landed on one, and then every time we're like, you want to record? And either myself or TJ would just be like, yeah, I got something. So we're here.
We're busy. We're the busiest members of the Flyover crew, and
I mean, we don't have children or homes. You know, I mean, like, we definitely have the busier boy. But no, we're here today. TJ, for anyone that isn't aware of who you are, or if they're just fear listeners, who are you?
I, as most of you watching this probably see me on Twitter, I am at TJ Dex. I am the guy that you've probably been with an argument, had an argument with here and there. I like to think of myself as the wild card of the group, alpha.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you are.
Yeah. Brian says it all the time. He's always like, TJ, I am so impressed with everything you do. I'm actually inspired by you a lot. And how I raised Harrison.
TJ, you inspire me.
Thank you.
Just be better.
Just be better people. Don't be so much, guys.
And it's funny, to anyone listening, TJ on Twitter and on podcasts in person, the two most different people I know.
I gotta tell people it's a character a lot because everyone's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm good."
Oh my god, is he okay? Yeah, he's good, man. He's totally fine. But no, very happy you're here with you. So today we're talking about The Gate, but first, 1987's The Gate. But first and foremost, TJ, well, I know you like horror movies, but what's like your horror movie origin story, and how'd you get into it, and spend some time with that?
Yeah, for me, it was at a young age. My parents were pretty open with films and stuff like that. They never really shied away from showing me, R-rated films at such a young age. We've talked about before, one of the first movies I saw with my dad was Child's Play. That holds such a distinct place in my heart, and like why we always end up talking about it nonstop on.
Well, I know your love of Child's Play, and let's bring more Flyover thing, and Brian's, or why, like, over, like, we've been doing this shit for like 5+ years now, why I currently love Child's Play.
And it's just like, it's one of those things to where, like, I as a kid, because it's not like I thought I was not scared or cooler. Like, I got scared. I'd hide my face in all the films, but that was the fun of it. Like, going to see these horror movies, or having like my parents bring home, like even something as simple as Poltergeist, which even The Gate, which we'll get into later, is a scary movie, but it's not like a horror scary movie. But like Friday the 13th, when you're 6 years old, does stuff to you, like Myers and all that.
I feel like Friday the 13th is one of those ones, right? It's kind of like Child's Play, where like, Child's Play is a much better movie, so I don't want to kind of rope the two in. But Friday the 13th, kind of like, there's this allure to it as a kid, where you're like, ooh, and then you actually watch it, and you're like, we're watching it, and like, remember the murders, and kind of forgetting about it, and then like, everyone in the world will mix Friday the 13th up with Jeez, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not I feel like if you're not a nerd, or like into horror movie nerds, that's just one movie for everyone, and they're like, oh, okay.
And like it too is, you like, as a for myself, I'll speak for myself on this one, as a young boy, there's only so many ways you got away with seeing nudity, and like it came, unfortunately, like double-ended, to where like you got to see the first naked girl, but then you also got to see her get decapitated or something.
But
It was good for a moment, and you're shitting your pants.
yeah, and the horror movies are definitely working way around it. Oh my god, I even like I mean it's a little I bring this movie up way too much on this show, but like for me, because of a little younger, but about that time where it was like, oh, New Girl, it was like there's very brief scenes and they're not good in the Dawn of the Dead remake. Like
Oh yeah.
very, very brief. But I remember being like, yeah, boobs. Like a side poor shot of like Sarah Polly's like naked body.
Yeah, like
Um
behind things because we're not gonna watch. I can't even think of films like dramas when we're kids and be like, oh, Basic Instinct or whatever
yeah, I was
that
just
is.
gonna say Basic Instinct where it's like, oh, and even that as a kid, like I don't know, she like kind of seems she flashes her vagina, and you're like, as like you're like, dude, it's nothing, there about it, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but for people, it's like, well, that's scandalous. You don't show that on TV.
Then like also one of the funnest parts about these horror films for me when I was younger, and this is like going 11, 12, where we were at my age, like latchkey kids, we were allowed to go out, walk
Hmm.
around the neighborhood, be alone in the house by ourselves. And there might be that film that my parents are like, not quite yet for you.
Yeah, I had a few of those.
Sneaking those ones in, or going to the movie theater to see like Shrek, and then I just did that for
Good.
you. And then dipping into like any horror movie that was out at the time, even if it was something that you didn't know. Because I remember like back, I snuck into like House on Haunted Hill remake.
Oh yeah, or like the haunting that like
The
same
haunting,
year.
like I never wanted to see it, but just a horror movie, just the fact that it was horror, you never knew what you're gonna get, and like so those were like the fun times, and
My
like you like bad movies even though you've seen them for the first time
my
because
mom was
you're
pretty lenient. My mom and dad were pretty lenient, but they're pretty lenient comedies more than anything. And it was a horror podcast. The one you're talking about sneaking, and the one I always remember is the one she's like, absolutely not. I didn't see it for like I saw worse things before I saw this.
hmm
Was I remember we went to the I don't know, maybe like an Austin Powers or something, and whenever Scary Movie was out, we went in the summer to those movies. And I remember it was
yeah,
like all summer I was like, really want to see Scary Movie. She's like, no, you're too young. I'm like, what? I already seen this, and I
yeah,
never forget it. We peek. She goes, okay, well we're at the movie theater. She's like, okay, let's peek. We peek in between the window doors, and it was the scene where he's jamming the hot dog into her mouth, mimicking the the what's the kiss scene from that night that
yeah,
90s Shakespeare whatever. You know what I'm talking about
yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um
Uh-huh.
with Sarah Michelle Gellar and
Oh, Cool Intentions.
Cool Intentions. I remember that scene of like the sensuality, and they start
Yeah,
I think that's what they are. And I remember the jam the hot dogs in the mouth, and honestly not knowing what it is, right? I'm like 9 or 8, and my mom going like kind of going, nope, nope, you're not seeing that one, nope, nope. And I actually remember years later, like being like so and so, and she's like still it like stuck with her, and then I whatever. But everything else, like, that was the only movie I
yeah.
remember. Like nope, it was pretty lenient. Like
So,
and the horror like that too, like the Terminator being able to rent it, or like
yeah,
uh
13 Ghosts. That was like one that I snuck into that still to this day scares the shit out of me. Like
I
13 Ghosts, enough credit.
so 13 Ghosts has recently it's been starting to get that like cult following, like horror accounts talking about. I tried rewatching it like 2 years ago. It's not for me, but I get it. It's but it has there, TJ. It has that like big ass cult following.
Yep.
But yeah, I know you as the Child's Play being the big one, right? Like,
Child's Play, your classic horrors and stuff like that, but like, because again, I grew up at a time where like Tickle Me Elmos and Cabbage Patch Kids, like those specific dolls during that Christmas time were crazy. So like around the time when I saw this is probably when like Tickle Me Elmo started really going off or something like that. I'm probably getting my dates off, but the toy, the kid, the single mom,
mhm,
and just all of that attached into it. Child's Play is just one of those ones. Again, it's not bloody, it's not gruesome, it's not
sure,
gory. It's just a scary fucking movie.
it's It's I mean, you were there, and I think what made me, and I think you guys remember too as a scary is my sister-in-law, when we were on Pittsburgh, we were watching it, and I mean, we had been partying all day, and we put it, they were there for some reason, and we put Child's Play on as like the background movie, and my sister on Sam is just glued to it, and there's general reactions of like scares, and like
Uh-oh.
as an adult, you don't think. I mean, personally, I don't think that exists for fucking some of these movies because I've seen
Yeah,
so many.
no. We're also
Uh,
starting to do a lot of shit now too. Like you see some things, you're like, oh yeah, it sounds kind of scary, but like you expect a lot too, and like it's hard for horror movies today, which is pretty cool when someone gets around it. Like when someone's doing like they're in the bathroom, they shut the mirror and open the mirror and they shut the mirror again. You're like, oh, there's gonna be a jump scare, but like
yeah,
we're starting to get around that. But if you've watched so many horror movies like we have, you at some point in time you kind of know everything that's about to happen. Still
yeah.
fun.
I don't. Yeah, it's fun, and I like it's fun too. Like you have a very similar horror arc as I do in the sense
Yeah.
of like young and then like not into it too much and then kind of later. So good stuff. So you did pick The Gate, which is of that time, and it is, I'd say, a little more obscure one. It was my first time watching it for not obscure because I'm sure it was like, oh, it's The Gate,
Yeah.
that movie rules, but it's not talked about, and it is definitely like we were just talking about the ones you have to sneak into. This is one that was like I would say you're. It's clearly for kids. It has that like Goonies vibe to
Sleepover
it.
movie with a bunch of your friends type of thing. Throw it on.
Yeah,
It was PG-13 at the time, I want to say, because PG-13 back then was basically R now. You could have like the one
yeah,
boob
and it
shot, F word.
it just it's 87, so yeah, it's definitely PG-13. Yeah, there's some
Do you know? Can I give you a little fun fact, which I'm
yes
sure you
please.
probably are.
I had hard time finding fun facts for this, so go for it.
Do you know the kid, the main kid?
This is Steven Dorff.
Yes, from Blade. Shout out Blade.
Yes,
Shout out. God, his name off the top of my head, Deacon Frost.
Deacon
Uh,
Frost. That's like it.
but see, I saw this as that's literally it. I don't like. Do we give like a rundown of the film
Oh yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah. I am so it is Deacon Frost, Steven Dorff, and it's his first role or one of his first because they do that thing where they say "and introducing," I believe, in the credits. Yes, I like to read because they're either on or completely off. I'm gonna read the synopsis we pulled from
okay?
Wikipedia or from Googling, which you think usually comes from Wikipedia, and I've not read it yet. And I tell it to everyone. I always give it as a blind read because I don't know if this is going to explain the movie or just give us like a. It was a movie in 1987, and there were demons. All right, so and Glenn, when Al and Glenn's parents leave town for the weekend, Al uses the opportunity to throw a party, while little brother Glenn and his friend Terry decide to explore a hole left by a tree. Removal service Removal service in the backyard. And it was written weird. When an unexplainable phenomenon begins to occur, Terry, with the help of his extensive heavy metal music knowledge, comes to the conclusion that he and Glenn have accidentally opened a gateway to hell. So it's kind of there. I mean,
Kinda.
it doesn't happen during the party. It would be my
Yeah.
only. And I have so many thoughts about this party. So why? Why did before I we break scene by scene? Why did you do this movie? Like, what is this movie to you?
This is I did these when I was younger. We did this at a sleepover on a double night. We watched Poltergeist and then watched this. This was like the scarier version of Poltergeist,
Mhm.
and it stuck with me the most because of the it was mainly kids. Like Poltergeist is definitely about the family, the mom and the dad,
Yeah,
and go this and go. But this one's literally about the kids being left alone. And dare I say, I love the naming of all these kids: Glenn, Al, and Terry. Al is his sister, but she wants to be called Allison now. But like she was obviously growing up as a tomboy, and like her and her brother, they kind of give you this thing in the beginning of the film where her and her brother have like this great bond. But she's getting older, I think she's
Her,
like maybe a sophomore or freshman in high school.
I would say like yeah, about there. But some of her character is like written for like it doesn't make sense sometimes. Some of
No.
the decisions because like
No.
it's written as like a little girl sometimes, and then like and then like and then like
Adult.
as a normal adult teenager. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you want me to bring it up right now.
Hmm.
But like it was very prevalent in the party scene, right? Because for me, the party
Yeah.
scenes felt like they had written this script for them to be like a sleepover or like a non-high school party,
Dude,
and
when I
then
read this before this, I'm like, oh, they're doing like they're smoking joints. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure cocaine.
and
There's
then
beer
and
everywhere.
yeah, and then in high school, I'm sorry, and then it's a high school party at the same time with like joints and beers
Yeah.
and but then in the middle of it they just interrupted play like light as a feather stiff as a board, which is a middle school sleepover
Yeah.
element. So it just and then certain actions like I said I don't really made me go her character is great then terrible then doesn't make sense. It's very just a different person every scene.
I also, and with this, with like, I think this is a smart. I know we read the synopsis and it's pretty vague of how it goes, but I think the how the gate comes is cool. You know, the kid has a nightmare one night that he's in this treehouse. The treehouse falls and like gets set on fire, but actually in real life there was a storm. The tree goes down. He wakes up the next day. All the construction and removal guys are pulling out this what do they call them? The gemstone things
Oh,
falls out.
the geode.
Geode, yeah.
Yeah.
Falls out, the kid cracks it open, his best friend comes over. I love Terry. I had a friend like that too, who just like one of my favorite scenes is when they're like going through the trash that the sister was throwing out.
Hmm.
And he's like getting his rockets out, and Terry's just catching moths and putting them in a jar and shutting the jar. And she's like looking at him, and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He's like, "I want to see how long they last. I want to see how long they survive." And he's like, "Hey man, that's fucking cruel." And he's like,
Yeah, it's
"Yeah, friend."
oh god, the Terry. So yeah, you meet Terry and Al, and they kind of just nailed it right there. We start immediately, and there's clearly a power dynamic, right? He's like, "What the fuck you
Yeah.
doing, Terry?" That's most of the conversation of Al and Terry,
Are you okay?
and um, because the movie does start out with like this dream sequence with like a tree house and falling down, like no one's around, and it's just clear proof, uh, like omission of like an omen of like what's going to happen in the end, like
Yeah.
premonition. And then they find the geode, and he's like, "You got a lot of money. Let's get back down there." My
Yeah.
first fucking note though is there is a big tree that's a big service.
Mhm.
I know my either one of my parents would have been home watching that shit happen in the
Yeah.
backyard, even if it was a work day.
Dude, what, and also like, I get this like, what did the parents do? Because it's a beautiful house. They went away for the weekend for some reason. I don't remember the reason for it.
I don't
I think a
think they
family was sick or something like that.
something. There's three
But
days.
I again, it's smart because they're out there. They're just messing around with like the hole, and the kid pricks his finger with a splinter,
Hmm.
pulls out, throws the bloody splinter into the hole, which then like you hear the oh, and like
Yeah,
oh, it's the gate, and then
it
Terry
riles the gate.
opens the book. I love the part where like there's like Terry's going through something. Like Terry's just fucked
I
up.
actually love so a little later, right? Like he's like, because Terry teases him. He's like, "There's a man that lives in your walls,"
Dude, the great
and
story. Yeah.
and um and there's a lot of things in this later where like the demons are just doing shit that like children are afraid of, right? Like the monster
Yeah.
under the bed, shit in the closet, the person on the walls. So, um, but the dad actually like gives a great reasoning. He's just like, "Why is Terry such a dick?" And the
Yeah.
dad's like, "I was like, well, Terry lost his mother,
Yep.
and he's just going through some stuff. But kind of like be chill with Terry." And it was, especially in, I mean, any movie, it was like handled very nicely.
And they use that great with Terry. He's like, can Terry sleep over? He's alone at the house, and then Terry wakes up and thinks he sees his mom. This part always got me.
That was fucking creepy.
Yep.
So I mean, you really don't have to go scene by scene of it in the sense of like basically Al is like, I'm old enough to watch my stupid brother alone,
Yeah.
and it'll be no big deal for 3 days. Parents do agree, and they say, sure. My parents would never. They'd be like, no, your uncle's coming over, or you're going to your uncle's, and that's
With
it.
the threat of my uncle stopping by to check on us.
Yeah, no, go for it. And so um so they do that, and then we kind of already talked about it, but she throws the lamest party of all time. And I don't say the sense of like they're hanging out, they're there, but I already mentioned the fact that it's just interrupted for no reason to be like, yeah, let's stop the
Everybody leaves minus like 10 people.
yeah.
And
They're like
people
good
doing lights.
friends who are all like assholes to her, and the one girl is that there's something about Mary hair.
The fucking twins.
Yeah, I have their names. The Lee twins.
Yeah, the Lee twins.
And but oh my god, they're such dickheads. At the party, yeah, they do this like light as a feather, stiff as a board, and they're like, "Well, you're too big," and they call over Terry from watching. Oh, I'm sorry, call over Glenn from watching Far Away, and he goes, okay, and they start lifting Glenn up, and because they're doing that, the demons are able to like kind of fuck with it, and they do levitate him up, and like shit happens, everyone freaks out, and then they leave the party.
Just leave the party. And the kid's crying. He's
Yeah.
embarrassed. And the sister's like, oh no. And then she shows him the rocket, which comes back later.
Yeah, the rocket's a big thing. This kid
Yeah.
loves industrial rockets.
Yes. And like that's cool because it's like it does have this like heart, like beat the demons with love type of a message too. It makes you think about Interstellar too with that fucking
That whole message of love stuff really did ruin Interstellar. Really did ruin that for other movies.
It's fucked it all up. You should just been ghosts and all that shit. But like the design. Another thing with this, the design of the creatures and the monsters and the use of them and how they kind of sprinkle in these little stories.
Yeah, they're fun.
Take them up, and then the when Terry, because you don't think that like some of these kids, you just think it's like dumb scares where like the kids start disappearing, like Terry gets taken and then he comes
Yeah,
out.
we'll get there in a sense. So like that night at the party, Terry does have that dream about his mom, and it's this like angelic woman coming out as his mother, and he's just like stunned, and then it turns out that like it's actually horrifying, and she wants to take him with him.
The dog.
But oh well, that's. I mean, we could do 40 minutes on the dog itself because. So the kicker, and this is where I really am like, because I want to like Al, and I can't because of the dog.
Yeah.
So first, no one's nice to their sweet, sweet dog Angus.
The old sheepdog.
Yeah, he's 97. That's in dog years. But the dog gets straight up fucking murdered by the demons, and it's just dead in the middle of their rich house. Like there's a big spiraling staircase and the balcony. It just looks very like they're very well off. And I mean, they're all crying except their shit friends that are sleeping over, being like, "Huh, what's the big deal?" And they wake up in the morning, and this is where I'm like, this girl's character. He's like, I'm gonna call mom and dad and tell them, our beloved family dog died.
God, yeah.
And Al's like, fuck, you aren't.
Yeah, like what? I have to prove to them, like, I can handle this. And what does she do? This dumbass, this dog has been probably since she was.
That dog is as old, is almost as old as her at minimum.
So she gets this dipshit who her twin friend just want to get her to like hook up with. Can you bury my dog? No, like, can we have a ceremony for it or anything like that? But they get this dipshit guy who doesn't even know the dog, wrap him in a blanket, and then this asshole, which I also think is a smart thing that they did with the writing to get the sacrifice, because at the same time this is all happening, this is what Terry's doing.
But yeah, so he's fucking driving around, and it's a completely different movie. It's like, nobody. He talks to the dog. He's like, too late, and then he's holding it like, like, and he sees the hole in the backyard. But couldn't they have just done a simple thing of like, said, and for Al to make her seem like a good person, go, okay, let's bury him in the backyard, and then they throw him in the fucking gate hole, and they just start, they fill it up or they whatever, and they make a makeshift like gravestone, be like, here lies Angus, and then that's the sacrifice. But at least the kids put it in there, and it makes sense, not a comedy beat, because that's what it was.
Yeah, he just talking to the dog, and then like he gets lazy and is like, "Oh yeah, there's a hole in the back," and then he doesn't tell anybody what he did, but he filled up their hole in their backyard. And again, that hole, for anyone who's watching this movie, is like at least like 12 to 15 feet deep.
It's deep.
Like what they show you. So like even filling that up would take you hours upon hours to do that. But Terry reads the thing, he's doing his rock thing. I don't know if you want to get to that part, because I think it's like
Nah, we got a bit between then. We go wherever you want to go with this, but yeah. So Terry, like they they're sleeping over. Angus, it's night 2 now, right?
Yeah.
And nothing really happens during the day, but except Terry, Al, and Glenn actually hang out. They light off a rocket. Like, he's like, cool, you're a bitch because you killed my dog. You won't give me a proper burial of my dog. But like, blah blah blah. And then she goes out with her girlfriends, and like that's a big thing for Al. Like, I just want to be with my friends and go to the mall and talk to cute boys and whatever. And she goes off and does that. And what's baffling to me though is, because when everything starts happening, she's the nighttime. She's home alone. She threw a party Friday night. Assumingly, it's Saturday night. She has no plans Saturday night with her friends. Like, that's what made no sense to me. Like, I know when my parents, it was like every night, let's fucking go. She was like, oh yeah, and the Lee twins come over, and they start like jabbing insults at each other, and one of them was like, what's his problem? She's like, our dog died, and it's like, wait, these girls were with you earlier in the day. They don't know that.
Just leave everything out. It's like there's so many holes when it comes to those things.
Oh, it's fun. I'm just goofing on
the ugly twins.
But in the meantime, though, Terry does figure out what's going on. He was like, I think, because there's weird shit. Like, we keep seeing these moths. Like, they have this like big ass buzz zapper and all this. And the one night the moths just fucking like, basically break the window open.
Yeah.
And then he gets out and gets Al, and then this is when we see Ang the bed, right?
Yes.
So Al goes, this is when the demons
I had you and I lost you. Come back, Joe.
TJ. Yeah, are we good? Oh, yeah,
we're
you're quoting.
Oh, no. I lose you again? Wi-Fi. Come on, buddy. Come on, Wi-Fi.
Are we taking we're good?
I think we're good. Sorry, just press it twice.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, they like turn that around, and this is when shit starts hitting the fan, or at least the first wave of the demons comes through that night, and they go through the thing, and they lift open the bed sheet, and there's a dead dog in it, and it's fucking awful.
Awful. Holes back.
And yeah, as they're doing that, this giant monster hand comes out from below. It's like trying to grab, I believe it's Al under the bed, like, get in here, and and then like what's silly about these demons is their goal is just seemingly to me to fuck with these people.
Yeah. It's
right?
like are they strong enough yet, or they're doing like the Freddy thing where I don't have my powers just yet?
That's what it felt like, the Freddy
Yeah,
thing, because they're fucking with her and then them, and they're running around the house. The Lee twins are like, "What's going on?" And
they're
he's
the
like,
worst fucking kids. In the
"Yeah."
fucking-
And Terry's like, "It's demons, you idiots."
yeah,
But they're like, "Oh, my notes, they're in the basement."
which is just which is the best thing about this is because if you're someone who likes like metal, heavy metal, they do like the thing where like back in the day, it's like if you reverse a record backward, it's the demon talking, shit, but Harry actually like has a record, reads through all this like ancient scripture these guys have on their record for some reason. He kind of talks about it because I think he explains like
They're the explanation is the symbols that the geode projected are the
yes.
same ones as this rare album he has, where the band died in a plane crash, and they only made one.
Straight Leonard Skinner type shit.
Yeah,
Like it works. Then like he does the thing where he's sitting there and he's like, as he's like, lip
soothing.
syncing to the songs and singing the songs, he like starts. You can see in his face. He's like, oh shit, and then he reads it. And that's where his notes is just a heavy metal vinyl record, which is
It's actually
amazing.
awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And like I said, we gave an explanation, so there's no holes there. It's perfect.
No, yeah.
So yeah, they do that. It is like Leonard Skinner. Like, what if we like ran back background like, what's your name, little girl? And it said like, go to the trailer and get your sister. Uh your cousins are perfectly fair game.
My dad
Uh
loved Leonard Skinner.
I like Leonard Skinner. But anyway, so they have a plan at least, right? And then like, I don't know, I just feel like this like the first just two bits of like the horror.
Yeah.
This first one is like lighter and you kind of see the gremlins go down and it's just kind of like um broken windows and lightning. It's really all
Uh,
that's going on.
yeah.
Like a lot of running around. Our lead girls, they're hiding in the closet. Um and then the other three are just fucking running around. And they're like, we got to read the thing. So they go out back to the gate, start reading the thing, and then Terry falls in.
Yep.
And this is when we get like the first real thing of these I call it, they're demons. I mean, we want to call them like trolls kind of, but they're
Yeah,
demons
they're like trolleys.
and they're shapeshifters too. They're really great claymation. I mean, this movie looks great. But they start biting and like gnawing at Terry while he's down there, and like the kid, the Glenn and Al are like trying to pull him up with things from the backyard, and they do eventually get him out. Right, like it's a bit dramatic, but they do get him
Yeah.
out. Once he gets out, they finish reading the passage, and the hole closes and blows up, and they're like, "We're good, great, it's over, no
You
problem.
call our parents yet?
No, we are not going to call the parents, and on top of it, we're all going to go to our separate bedrooms and just go back to bed."
Yeah, just go sleep.
Lee
I'm
girls
like,
are like, we're not getting the fuck out of here. But what's weird is, don't they show up later and they're like, you guys aren't partying? Or like another group
yeah.
of friends?
I think they were hiding the entire time.
They were. I think
Yeah.
she kicks them out. I think Al's like, get the fuck out of here. I just baffled, like, TJ, if something, even in her 30s, if something crazy scary happened to us and we went back, I think I'd be like, yo, so we're gonna like sleep in the living room, right? Like, we're not leaving each other.
Yeah.
So she does that, and um so I don't know, little like very little bit passes because it's not actually over.
Yeah. Is it all the same night? I'm pretty sure it's
It's
all the same night.
it's all the same night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is a night because they get up, and then this is when they're like, oh. By the way, the one thing I would need to say is this movie does a lot of really good like breadcrumbs. Like it
Yeah.
tells us like they have a gun in the house.
Mm-hmm.
The dad reckless with his gun placement.
At the top of the closet.
Yeah. But the same night, yeah, they're walking around the house like to get up, and then the man in the walls appears. So I said
Yep.
that these demons are very connected into childhood fears, and it made me think earlier. And if I missed it, please let me know. Uh, One of them must have said they were afraid, or like there was something in the script of something under the bed.
Yeah.
Because when they do that dog reveal, like that dude coming under the bed is just such a child. I'm like, that had to have been mentioned early and was cut or
I
something.
think it was mentioned. I think it was Terry too.
Oh, maybe it was okay. So anyway, the man, there's a man in the wall, and it's just like it's a corpse. I mean, it's a zombie kind of thing, and he's going to attack. First he goes to attack Terry, and he pulls Terry into the wall, and then the wall fucking seals.
See, we all think Terry's dead. We're
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. Demon Terry with those teeth are
those
pretty
fucking
great.
teeth. The bark claw.
And so Al goes to the bedroom, and like he's like, we gotta go. Al and Glenn are like, all right, we gotta get the gun, and they try to run back, get the gun, and they're like held up in there, and they do. Then the zombie demon's kind of gone, but he sees fucking the he's not gone, but he sees Terry all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and Terry comes out and nails at his leg, and then he stabs him in the eye.
With a Barbie doll leg is the best thing ever.
Yeah. That scene rules. That's the peak of this movie.
Yeah.
And so but now Al also
Gets taken by her
taken. So that's taken, and that's the two human sacrifices.
Yeah.
So this big giant, it says in the Wikipedia, they're calling it a demon serpent. This big giant, like golem type, like giant appears that's made up of all the demon, and it can't really attack Glenn because it's used from his blood, it seems to be. Like
it's doing like this weird thing where it looks like a video game finishing like boss because it just like it's there, like does it spinning. It's like looking up because the claymation's great, but you can tell they were definitely like
no,
handcuffed points.
I think it looks great. I mean, its budget was 6 million. Every piece that was used, and I mean, it made a little more than its money back. It was 13.5. So, but yeah, Glenn also. Remember, we said he's obsessed with rockets. He's like, I got an idea. He finds like this rocket that his sister had gifted him that he had never opened.
Yeah.
And he's like fires that bad boy up and just perfect aim, lights it right to his chest. The demon's like, huh, that didn't hurt me. And then he explodes.
Yeah.
Leaving their parents' house completely fucking wrecked, which is fine. The kids are alive.
Yeah.
And one thing I really like what this movie did is and please interrupt if I missed anything, is the ending is just the ending, right? He solves that. His friends come back. Thankfully, Angus comes back. Like all the things the demons took are back in their lives.
Yeah.
And what I love that it did is it just ends. We don't wait for the parents to get home, or like they don't pull into the driveway. We don't hear a last thing of like, oh my god, the house.
You know, the parents got there. The second time we saw the parents is when there was like the fake parents. Wasn't really the parents, it was the demon parents when they were just doing the first like bit of scaring. But those actors, they got away scotch free. They were in there for about 30 seconds, 4 lines, and they're out. But that's again this movie. There wasn't a big adult factor when it came to it. They did, you know, because like first thing you do if your parents are in the house, you go to your parents, and you know it was all kids. That's why this movie like just always stuck with me every time I see it. And again, it is almost free on all Tubi.
Yeah, you could
like all those things.
Tubi. I watched it on Shudder, but if you want to watch it for free, like it's great. I had a lot of fun with it, and I wanted to. I think I'm gonna pick up. There's one of those like bougie like third party Blu-ray.
Yeah, I think Screen Factory did one too because it has an amazing cover and like the poster is great too.
Yeah. It's that blockbuster poster. The Gate.
Yep.
I need to watch this. It's gonna scare me. But no, super fun movie. Anything else we mentioned that we didn't mention, TJ, that you really need to go over with this movie?
I mean, I think that Steven Dorff should have got more kid roles after this because I thought he was fucking great in it.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else after this. I would have liked to see
Al, she has very limited credits.
Harry, I feel like I've seen again as like almost the same type of character in other
Well, let's see.
90s.
Let's see. Brad Dourif still works.
Yes, he does like this weird like Amazon free movies.
Yeah. But yeah, he does Blade, and it's pretty cool. I forgot about Fear.com. Yeah, he does a lot of bad.
You talked about Fear.com.
No, I haven't talked about Fear.com, but he's in Fear. Yeah, he's in like Leatherface, and like just very.
That's right. He is in Leatherface.
Yeah, so he works, but yeah, as a kid actor, he was so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think all those kids were good. That's like another one too. They were just relatable kids, and like
recurring a lot of TV as a kid. And I'm just looking at like Roseanne, Married with Children, Blossom.
Yeah.
So in the Gate. So let's see. Terry is Louis Tripp. Yeah, he did. Oh, this is interesting. He was in the Gate 2.
There's a sequel?
It says 1990 Gate 2 The Trespassers. And then he really didn't do anything, but do anything else. Yeah, Gate 2 Gate 2 just has Terry returning. You're gonna have to watch it. The lead looks Pamela Adlon's in this as a young woman. Bobby Hill, voice of Bobby Hill.
Oh, really?
And she's in all the the Louis C.K. shit. But only reason I say really interesting, and then I feel like I'm moving up. The kid was in a short film called Terry was in a short film in 2022 called Sacrifice, where he returns as Terry.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna.
So someone made I guess a fan film and got him to do it.
That's amazing.
So, anyway, check out The Gate if you haven't. We really enjoyed it. I'm so glad, TJ, you picked it. I'm glad you finally did an episode of Fear. I hope you come back and do more Fear. For any listening, we're going to be more circulating through my Flyboys as guests, and not so much guests when we can get them now. But anyway, you can find TJ Dex here on Flyover State of Film YouTube channel, and you can follow him on Twitter at TJ Dex. Missing anything?
No, you nailed it, man. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoy this, and I can't
hear us
the next 500 episodes.
Yeah, you could hear us every other week on Flyover State of Film. All right, stay.
Yeah, if you like the horror too, check out our Halloween episodes.
Absolutely, our Halloween episodes are drafts. A lot of good stuff on this channel. All right, stay frightful, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.